Welcome to the UNSECURITY podcast. Each week, Evan and Brad give an inside look at current information security news, breaches, best practices, and other things you should know to improve your information security. Here are your hosts, FRSecure's Evan Francine and Brad Nye.
All right, good morning. Today is episode 46 of the UNSECURITY podcast. It's September 23rd. I'm Brad Nye, and joining me in studio is Evan. This is 2 weeks in a row we've been here together, Evan.
I know. How did you remember the date?
I looked at my computer.
September 23rd.
Yes.
All right.
It's a little trick. Yeah, so as you put in the notes, we record this pretty early on Mondays, so it'll be a little punchy.
We're always punchy.
Yeah.
At least it's not Friday afternoon. I'm broken on Friday afternoons.
It's very true. Yeah, by the time we get to Fridays, it's been a long.
Yeah, I had a late meeting on Friday afternoon last week. It was a really good meeting, but I have no idea what I talked about.
I'm so glad I'm not the only one who gets through that. Man. All right, so we have another jam-packed show.
It's funny. We'll hit stride like Wednesday afternoon. So yeah. Thursday's a good day, and then Friday we're broken.
Monday is just catching up. Tuesday kind of.
When I was younger, the spread was wider. So like Monday through Friday, I was pretty much on game. The older you get, that window gets
I'd say that's
shorter and shorter.
Kind of feel like Tuesday through Thursday, maybe Friday morning.
You're younger than me though.
By Friday afternoon, I'm usually pretty much done.
Yeah, you're younger than me.
Oh boy. So thank you again for writing the show notes. It was my week last week was a little bit crazy. And I think about 3:30 Friday afternoon, I went, oh no.
Right.
I haven't done anything.
Well, we cover for each other,
so
man.
Thank you. Yeah. The downside of this is that, I'm kind of stuck with what you came up with. So we'll see how it goes.
That is true.
It's not a big deal. I think we're pretty much on the same path here. So, great week last week. I think the big one was Hacks and Hops last week. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was good. We had, you emceed it. Forgot jokes.
Oh, no, MC.
You moderated. I'm sorry.
Well, and I did the keynote. But Renee emceed.
Well, okay. She's going to yell at me for getting that wrong.
Because she did a great job.
Yeah.
Did you see her at the end when she sat up in the front row and then was giving me this sign?
Yeah.
The cut it off sign. I was like, well, we got time for another question.
She goes, hey, go up there and get that microphone. They're not using it. Go get it for you.
Oh.
So she sent me up to go get the microphone so that she could do that. So I was part of the part of that.
So we were at the U.S. Bank Stadium.
Right.
We had, I don't know, how many people do you think were there?
I think what I heard was there were 200 registered plus employees plus partners and sponsors.
So like
I think
250?
225, 250?
Okay.
It was a lot of people.
I know. And it like I was just trying to like get some of that bacon.
Right.
Did you see that
bacon on a stick? It was so good.
Yeah. And it took me like 30 minutes to get there because people would be like, hey, and they start talking to you and you're like, I'm trying to be polite here, but you're kind of in the way.
If you don't move,
there's some
bacon. Don't get between me and bacon.
So then towards the end, I just, as I was getting closer, I started telling people, you see that bacon over there? They're like, oh yeah. I'm like, that's where I'm going. Do you want to come with me?
There you go.
And then we finally made it to the bacon.
It was crazy. So it was a lot of fun. Seeing a lot of people that, don't see on a regular basis, either clients or just employees or past employees. Yeah. But, so it was weird how many people came up and were like, I listen every week. And
oh yeah,
I don't know. But so thank you to everyone that's listening. It is good to hear that people enjoy it. We're not just sitting here talking to ourselves for an hour.
But, that's what we started with, right?
Yeah.
It was, I just wanted to sit here and talk for an hour.
Yeah.
And if people want to listen in, because that's what it is, right? It's me and you, two security guys that work together, and we just talk.
Right.
And people get to listen in on what we're talking about. If they like it, great. If you don't, I guess that's okay too.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, something wrong with you probably.
I agree.
Yeah, right. So yeah, Hacks and Hops was cool. It was Thursday. Good. That was a crazy week because, you know, Monday I was in Washington, D.C.
Right.
Tuesday was a panel at the Minnesota IT Symposium. Wednesday was back to the office, and that was the first day in the office in like 2 weeks. And then Thursday was Hacks and Hops. And it was really good. We had, like I said, a bunch of people there. It was interesting when you first got down because it was at the U.S. Bank Stadium, and nobody could figure out how to get into that place.
It's huge.
I know. So finally we found the door. Oh, this door. Yeah, and then you got upstairs, and it didn't take long for that place to fill up. I mean, not the whole U.S. Bank Stadium.
No, but
that'd be crazy.
The little, like, lounge or whatever area that was. It was a good place. It was a good spot.
It was. It was a good venue. You know, it was cool to, you know, JD Hansen, who's the CISO for Code 42, Bill from Lockton, our insurance expert, and our very own Oscar Minks was the panel.
With his sweet accent.
I know, right? People like
that. He
did
a great job.
I thought he did too.
Yeah, I told him, when I found out he was stepping in, I told him the one rule. You're not allowed to go, ooh, it's a tough question. Hey, Brad.
Right.
Other than that, anything goes.
But I thought it went really well. You know, it was the right amount of networking time before, you know, everybody kind of got to their seats. I thought the seats looked comfortable from where I was.
Yeah, they were fine. I think the only thing we learned is that the projection with the way we had the slide deck. Yeah, there was some stuff that it was kind of hidden behind the chairs just because of the way that was. But
that's right. I mean, that's how I
live and learn.
That's how I roll anyway.
Right. And it didn't take anything away from it.
No. And I thought, you know, Code 40 with Renee emceeing and then doing that first introduction, and then Code 42 being the presenting sponsor,
right?
You know, gave their little bit of pitch there.
Yeah, and it was good too. They did a good job of, hey, here's some value, but not like.
Oh yeah, it wasn't a hard sale. Yeah,
there's always that you see that sometimes, and you're just like, oh no, they seem to be pretty on top of things.
Yeah, I mean, Code 42, you know, they make a good software product. They're a Minnesota-based company, and yeah, it was really cool. And then the keynote went all right, and then it was funny because I couldn't remember my joke.
Yeah,
I suck at that, but whatever.
That's what happens when you try new ones. Well,
I know.
So I'm sure we'll get asked. You want to tell your joke?
No.
Do you remember it?
No.
I'll deliver the punchline for you.
Who's the patron saint of surveillance cameras?
Was it St. Francis of CCTV?
See,
boom! All right.
Yeah,
it's early.
Joke. That's a joke I couldn't remember, but I think people laughed more at the fact that I couldn't remember the punchline.
You played it off really well.
And then Mark Lanterman, who was supposed to be a panelist, didn't show up. Yeah. We didn't know why, so that's why Oscar filled in and just knocked it out of the park. And then I followed up with Mark in an email, you know, the next day, mainly concerned, like, are you okay? Because I know him and know that he's not
normal.
Yeah, and he replied like, oh my God, he was so embarrassed. That's what he said in his email. He had it down for the 29th.
Oh, no.
Right, instead of the 19th. So, you know, he was very apologetic, and he says he owes me one, so I'll have to figure out something really good to cash in.
Let's get him on the podcast.
Yeah.
Make him get up and come in at 6:45.
Right.
It's payback.
As I'm sitting here right now, I just got a text from my wife who's in China.
Very cool.
Do you know what time it is in China right now? It's like 8:00 p.m.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah. So
she's getting ready for finishing up dinner, and we're just starting.
Yeah. So and then the house. I almost, you know, my wife is gone.
Yeah.
I'm not the kind of guy. I'm not usually the kind of guy you want to leave to his own devices.
She's going to come back to go-karts.
Yeah. I didn't realize how much work she does. Oh my God. I tried to keep up with whatever I did. Laundry.
Yeah.
And then my tub upstairs in the upstairs bathroom started leaking, and I didn't notice until I saw it coming through the ceiling in the dining room. She's going to be lucky to have a house when she comes back. I know. I should build something like a tree house in the living room or something.
Just to distract from the ceiling.
Yeah. Never mind that. But anyway, it went really well. The feedback was awesome. I love the questions from people.
I thought it was interesting, kind of where the range of plans were with Code 42 saying, 2 pages.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, wow.
Yeah, 2 pages. But Bill says this is like 25.
25.
Yeah.
And I was looking at our template, and our template raw without the procedures is about 45. But it's because it's got everything you could need for every industry.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you don't need PCI. Okay. Take it out. You don't need HIPAA or whatever. You don't need all these other things. So by the time you take out and customize it, it's probably in that 20 to 25 page range.
Well, and I think the moral of the story is there is no one size fits all plan, right? Everybody's got a different plan.
Right.
Code 42, I'm sure they have a great plan at 2 pages.
Right. It probably references the other documents that we include.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It was interesting to hear some of those different takes.
Yeah. And I thought, also, I'm big on classification in the workflow for incident response. And I don't think Code 42 really does that. And it doesn't sound like maybe Lockton does either, but every place I've consulted, I've kind of steered them in that way, because I like to, in incident response, I don't want any decision making as much as possible. Right. I want to eliminate that.
I want to dictate and take the thinking out of that. Here's your boundaries.
Right.
Does it fit into one of these categories?
Yeah, because people in general make questionable decisions. But I think especially when you're under pressure and in an incident response, I think you're more likely to make poor decisions. Yeah. Oh yeah. So if you can take the decision making,
a lot of people, they don't react well under pressure. Mm-hmm. That stress kicks in, and disaster recoveries is another. Same thing.
Now, did you see when? It's interesting too, because we had 2 incident responders. Well, I guess I'm kind of a hybrid, an incident responder, not much anymore, but done it a lot. And then you had 2 security management-ish people, me and JD. Right. I'm the hybrid, right? Right. And then you had insurance. Yeah. And did you see the one where
I was laughing. I was telling, I think Christy, it's like, watch Evan and Oscar. They're like antsy. Like you guys were, like you could, you could see it. I could see you guys getting like, you kept putting the microphone up to talk and he kept going. And you could just see like you're just itching to.
Well, because then the question came up about, is are insurance companies
funding ransomware,
funding criminal activity
by paying ransom.
Yeah. And I was like, and Bill said, and then the question came up, are attackers targeting insurance policyholders, because it's an easier payoff.
And I do think he had a fairly valid point, but obviously there's clear workaround. I don't think they're necessarily targeting people because they have insurance. Right. They're targeting people and hoping they have insurance or. Right. Yeah. Yeah. That one I would give him credit for, but his other comment I disagreed with. I was with you and Oscar Oscar put it really well. Right. Yeah. You may not be directly paying them, but indirectly you're financing by paying ransom versus recovery.
Oh, for sure. There's no doubt about it.
And then the guy, he was like, yeah.
Well, yeah. And, and I love Lockton. I think they're a great group of people. I think if I were going to do business with an insurance company, it would be people like them because they're good people. Mm-hmm. But, you always have a difference of opinion. He's got his take and he's a lawyer. Right. Yeah. Well, so that's what, makes a good and lawyers team. Like to argue. Well, that too. But you don't always want somebody who's going to agree with you 100% of the time. It's good to have kind of that tension and those alternate viewpoints. Right. And it's interesting that when you're up on stage, because you don't want to argue.
Right.
But you're like, no, I totally disagree with you right there. And we can't just leave that hang.
Yep.
And so it was good that Oscar spoke up, because I was debating whether I was just going to let it go, because I didn't want to embarrass a partner or be embarrassed by a partner.
No, I think he did a really good job of broaching that topic without being confrontational.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that sweet accent helps.
Oh, for sure.
It sets people at ease.
Yeah.
I'm going to have him break all the bad news from now on.
There you go. Yes, for sure. Yeah. So how did, and then after the talk, I thought it went pretty well.
Yeah, it's a little more, about another.
There was no bacon left. So
no,
there was no reason.
There was a couple hours. People stayed for till close to 6.
Really?
Yes.
Well, that's how you can tell it's
good.
That's how you can tell it's a good event, when people stick around. The bad events, they're just itching to leave,
Yeah, it started clearing out around 5. By 5:30, I'd say it was like 75% cleared out, but there's still a decent number that stuck around for quite a while.
That's cool.
So, talked to some people. We had somebody come up to me and ask about the VCSO. He's been listening to the podcast and was thinking of doing his own thing, and so we had a good conversation.
Is he going to do his own thing?
He's debating what he wants to do. So
I say we help him do his own thing too, if he wants to.
So we had that conversation, and he's going to make a decision on what he wants to do.
Good. Yeah, the more the merrier. I had great conversations with partners and some customers about the S2 org going free on SecurityStudio. It was very positive across the board. Like, oh, you're really free?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. So you don't have to pay for just an assessment.
Yeah, especially if you don't have a kind of regulatory or any sort of.
Well, yeah, you can have it validated.
You can have a validation,
cheaper, right?
But
I mean, if you had to have me just come and double check your work, that's cheaper than me having to do your work.
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah, well, that's the theory anyway.
We'll find out.
So that was good. And then I left because there was no bacon.
Yeah, well,
I would have stayed as long as there was still bacon left.
A bunch of us went to dinner afterwards, and where we were eating, they had like a kitchen fire or something.
Was there bacon there?
No. It was pretty exciting.
Isn't there a bacon restaurant in Minneapolis? Like all they do is bacon?
Oh, I have not heard of this. Now I have a new mission for the day. My entire day has been ruined.
Hey, you keep talking. I'm gonna look for this bacon.
Going on that, we've got a bunch of speaking coming up. So I'll start with what I'm doing. So over the next month, this week, I'm going to be doing our management.
It's true. It's called Bacon Social House.
That's awesome.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Totally derails. So this week I have our senior management planning session for 2020. So those are always. Oh, that looks awesome.
See.
Oh. Okay.
Security's just getting in the way a bit.
I know. So that'll be good. Plans for next year. I know we have big growth plans, and it's exciting. And
so so where are you going to talk? You have a big one coming up.
Well, so this week I've got the offsite for 2020. And then next week I'm in Kentucky for a couple of days.
Okay.
For some meeting with some potential clients.
Okay.
Then I'm going to, where am I going to? San Diego to speak to a board.
Right.
And then the end of October, I'm speaking at the ASBO International, so Association of School Business Officials. It's like CFOs and administrators and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was good. I met with the 2 other panelists that are from here locally. Last week, I don't even remember what day. That's how you can tell. Was it Wednesday? It was Wednesday.
Yeah, because I was here.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we met for about 2 hours and have a really good plan for a presentation. They were.
You made the mistake of introducing them to me, and I.
Well, it was funny. So everything you were saying is like they'd already heard very close to it. So it was good to hear like this is the mission and everybody's on board.
That's cool.
But they're looking at getting the S2 Me out to all of the or as many of the attendees, and being able to discuss results as part of our panel.
That's cool.
Put some stuff out, and then looking at submitting to do an article for them as well for like the like January newsletter, and then speak again in the spring at their next conference. So
that's ASBO, and that's pretty well attended, right? I mean, that's
3,000 to 4,000 people total, but they said there's quite a few breakout sessions. And our panel is like 2 hours.
You have a 2-hour panel,
hour and a half.
Oh my gosh!
Well, come on, we can talk security for that long.
I know, totally. But who's going to listen to it that long?
So I basically went through our slides here with them, and they were like,
"That's cool."
The one guy goes, "Well, this is perfect. So I'm going to introduce you to Brad. You'll talk for an hour and 45 minutes, and then Amy, you can finish it up with like 5 minutes or so, and we'll be done."
No, done.
They're like, "This works." I'm like, "All right, I can talk." But yeah, that's the big one. So it'll be interesting. Now, hopefully we get a big, a lot of attendees into our session.
I'm sure you will, man.
So that'll be good.
2 hours. That'll scare them away.
Hour and a half. Yeah, they're all the same.
Oh, they're all 2 hours?
I think it's like
school people talk a lot.
Yeah, but we'll talk security.
Okay.
We'll get them straightened out.
True. I like it.
How about you?
Oh, I don't know.
Last week you had a busy week, but are you a little bit calmer now?
Just this week. Next week I'm sure some roadshow stuff. I'm at B-sides in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 talks in October.
Yeah.
But it's all around just building a community, really, commoditizing, information security assessments, risk assessments, getting people to speak the same language, and then spend your money on making your security better. So it's a lot of just meet and greet collaboration type meetings. I've got, I'm all over the place, man.
Yeah, you're so that's what you're talking about is Project Bacon, which is in the notes. So,
yeah, it's all over the place.
Just going out and you and
preach it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me and
John are going to be the next 4 months or so.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
True. The road warriors.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to go out and, I'd say half of it is talking and half it's listening,
Yeah.
Trying to get, we live in this little part of the world here in Minnesota, and we get out and we get to talk to a lot of people and get to learn a lot of things, but this is really an opportunity to purposefully go out.
Right. I think there's a lot of, we think we know because we, just from our conversations, but we haven't maybe asked as directly as what you guys are going to be doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think one of the, I got a webinar too this week with Loeffler. Well, Loeffler, one of the SecurityStudio partners, talking about vendor risk management, third party.
That'd be good.
Yeah, HSBC is coming up, Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So I'll be in Chicago.
Okay.
They put on a big event. I'll be talking about S2Me.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Friday night I did a parent.
Oh, this last Friday?
Yeah.
Okay.
PTO thing for the Safe and Secure Online. And it was okay. It was good. I mean, not as many people as I was hoping for, but it was the first time they'd done anything like this. Mm-hmm. So I think the principal of the school, elementary school, was all in and really excited. And they're looking at trying to spread the word and get that S2Me for the PTO. And yeah, it's amazing how people are responding to that and going, yeah, there's nothing like this.
Right.
And they want that. Like one of the good things, I'm going to go off topic here, but one of the things that one of the parents said was, do you guys offer any training for parents? It's like, this guy was a nurse practitioner, I think. I think that's what it was. Anyway, and he's like, I'm not technical at all. I don't know. Mm-hmm. like, how do I set up Wi-Fi? How do I do these things? I was like, there's really not anything out there.
Just have Comcast do it. And then, as long as it works, who cares?
Yeah. So that was good.
That is good. So Friday night?
That was Friday night. It was like 6 to 7:30.
Gosh. Yeah, I wouldn't think that you'd have great attendance on a Friday night.
No, but I think they'd done other things on Fridays, but it was with kids. So this one was not. So they're going to learn from it. And
a date night, an information security date night.
Right. Come listen to me talk.
There's got to be something good there.
So, all right.
Yeah, so starting October 3rd, so nothing this week, webinar this week, and then starting October 3rd, I'll be at B-Sides in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. That's kind of what kicks this thing off. Yeah,
I think our podcasting, we may be doing more Friday afternoon recordings here over the next couple of months.
Yeah, something. We'll
figure it out.
We always wing it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We always make it work.
Yeah, somebody asked, I was telling you before, if those were really the show notes that we worked off of that you post, or if there was more. No. Mm-hmm. We just wing it.
Right. Oh, yeah, for sure.
So, all right.
Like we said, just a discussion.
Yeah. So one thing that I agree with you on that you want to talk about was mental health, and that was part of your keynote. Mm-hmm. So I would agree this is a topic that isn't discussed nearly as much as it should. I know Ryan Cloutier, whatever. I'll get it. I'll just say enough of them and I'll get it right.
Yeah. RC. Just call him RC.
There you go. He's been pretty public about, some of the stuff that he's going through and with the ADHD and, you just don't see people talking about that. Mm-hmm. So, do you have your statistics?
Oh yeah.
You want to talk about them?
They're in my brain.
Let's talk about them.
Well, this was, before the keynote at Hacks and Hops, I was getting ready and it just kind of hit me that this is something I need to talk about. I need to talk about it a lot more often so I have the Mental Health Hackers t-shirt, right? And that's a great organization. So if you just Google Mental Health Hackers, you'll find them. They're relatively new, but they're doing great work in our industry and just making it safe for people to get help with mental health issues.
Right. There's such a stigma around it.
Right. Totally. So I wore the t-shirt for the keynote and then, just kind of called out on the crowd, look, statistically 5% of us are dealing with mental health issues at any given time. Right. So if you look out in the audience and there's 250 people here, say 200 because the math's easier. That means 10 of you right now.
Right.
I'm looking at you. You're looking at me. 10 of you are struggling.
Right.
And 50% of adult Americans deal with mental health issues at some point in their life. So half of us, 125 of us or 100 of us have dealt with this before. The sad thing is only 44% of people actually get help for it.
Yeah.
So it means that the 5 people that are struggling with it right now, if those statistics are true, that means that 2 of them won't seek help. And there is help. Mm-hmm. And so that's the lie, right? I mean, you tell yourself lies. We all have that voice. We all have a voice, right? That's telling us things, and some of those things that it tells us are healthy things. Some of those things that it tells us are not healthy things. And some of those non-healthy things are, it's helpless. You're hopeless. Right. Nobody understands. You're alone. Nobody gives a shit.
Right.
Excuse my language. Nobody cares. And all those are lies.
Right.
I mean, people I don't even know. If somebody comes up to me and asks for help, I'll drop everything and help them.
Right.
I mean, that's what people do. We love each other. So that's the thing. So going out on the road, being that I'll be talking at, 5 billion different places, I'm going to wear that shirt on every talk, and I'm going to open up every one of my talks with this issue.
Very cool.
Yeah. I think it's just a good way to kind of break the ice and for people to feel comfortable. And you never know, sometimes that one person is sitting out in the audience and it's like, I needed to hear that.
You just make the difference for one. It's worth it.
If you keep one person, from suffering or, God forbid, kill themselves.
Right.
It's totally worth it, man.
I mean, I think we've talked about it a little bit with burnout and kind of I think it goes hand in hand. I know in the past when it's been, I've been in jobs where it's just, you feel like you're, I don't know, not drowning, but trapped and unhappy. And, I'll be honest, I've turned to alcohol in the past for that. Mm-hmm. It's really easy to do.
Absolutely.
Right? Because you go home and have a couple of drinks and now you don't worry about your day. Is that healthy? Oh no.
Right.
But
yeah, it's a slippery slope.
So, I mean, it's easy to kind of fall down that hole and then the worst part is it just compounds itself at that point. Mm-hmm. So you're kind of in this spiral of, well, I'm unhappy, so I'll have a couple of drinks and then I'm unhappy. Yeah. So.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you may not be struggling now, but if the statistics hold true, there's a 50-50 chance that you will struggle at some point with a mental health issue. Right. So if you're not struggling now, or if either way, start working on a support group, start opening up to people, start establishing relationships with people, be intentional about it. Because I have certain friends in my circle who would call me out if they see me off. Right. Not being maybe normally I've got kind of this positivity baseline, and the last couple of times they've seen me, I just haven't been cheery. You know what I mean? It's just those little things and then you ask the question, if you have friends around you, they'll ask the question, hey man, what's up?
Right. Are you okay?
Yeah. And if you're good enough friends, they'll be persistent about it. They won't give up.
Right.
And so, yeah, and this hits home too, right? I always think about Robert. I think, weren't we out, you and me were out at dinner, or was it me and my wife? I was out with dinner with somebody when I got the news. Peter had called me and told me that Robert had taken his life.
Right. Yeah. I was
like, what?
Out of nowhere.
I know. And then you come to find out that Robert had this whole other life about him, and nobody knew. We were all surprised. None of us had, he hadn't opened up and shared who he really was with anybody, and nobody knew that he was struggling like he was until it was too late, you know?
Yeah. That was a very tough time.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to keep that memory alive too, because it's been a year or almost 2 years, about a year and a half.
Yeah.
And so
a year and a half,
we, it's one thing. Yeah. I just want to keep the memory alive. Let's not let another Robert happen on our watch, at least not as much as we can help it, no matter. And that's another thing that's a lie on the other side. Because I was just talking with Jim Nash, whose neighbor had committed suicide just like last week. Right. And he was kind of beating himself up, like, what else could I have done?
How did it? Yeah.
And that's all crap too, right? I mean, it's like, there's some things you can't do. And hindsight is always like 20/20. Right. It's like, if I just would have made that one more call. But that's not the point. Right. The point is this person was struggling. The point is that it didn't get noticed, that it didn't get addressed. It wasn't a conversation topic. So let's just make it a conversation topic.
Right. Yeah. I think agreed. One of the things with the parent talk is cyberbullying and mental health around that. And it's like, understand what's going on with your kid. If you see something, if you see abnormal behavior, ask. Let them know you're there for them. Right. You just got to be. It's the same thing here. Just be aware of what's going on.
Oh yeah, be present.
Like if you notice, right? If you came in and were just like mopey, and I'd be like, "Well, Evan, what's going on?" Right. Like, don't be afraid to ask.
Exactly.
I can't speak for other people, but sometimes all it takes is somebody just asking. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and don't beat yourself up if you missed it.
No.
A mental health issue is a mental health issue. It's not my fault that somebody has a mental health issue, but I need to do what I can. Yeah. To be helpful.
Here for helping as much as possible, but
right.
Yeah, I can't control someone else.
One of my pastor said something wise to me once. He said, guilt comes from the devil, conviction comes from God. And I think what his point is guilt is something that you just, every time, you remind yourself of it, you can't let go of it.
Right.
It's like, oh, I did this one mistake. I did this one mistake, and now I'm just, I'm just not good, and I disqualified. That's guilt. And whereas conviction is, you admit it, you acknowledge it, and you turn from it. You know what I mean? You become a better person.
Right.
One's healthy, one's not.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, mental health isn't that simple, but that's one thing that helps get me through when when the negative voices come.
Right.
And they tell me, you can't do it. You're not good enough. Remember that one time you screwed up? Yeah, man.
Right.
That's when, I remind myself, well, that doesn't come from God. And that's who I follow. So it's easy for me to put it to bed.
Right.
And turn from it. And sometimes I actually have to do it verbally. I don't know if you've ever had to do this before, but like the negative voices are going, I'll verbally say, no, go away.
Yeah. Like just these little coping, mechanisms to help. Yeah.
We should have somebody from the mental health hackers come join us sometime and tell us about their mission. I should reach out to them.
That'd be good. It's definitely an issue, I think, in the industry. Like, you do see a lot of isolation, and just because of
part of it's our industry too, right?
Because of the type of work, the nights, or for the pin tests, or there's just, I think it does happen and doesn't get talked about very much.
Well, and it's hard because we're also kind of this clan of, not misfits, but what we do every day for a living, it's hard for other people to relate to it.
Yeah.
Like when I share with my wife, this is what I did today. She's like, and she wants so badly to understand what I do. But sometimes you just can't. It's like cops, you know what I mean? They say that police officers, their best friends are police officers.
Right. And it's a fairly small clan for what we do. Yeah. I was telling my wife something that was going on for like 20 minutes, and she stops me and goes, I don't understand anything you're saying. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, we could definitely talk a lot more, but I think having somebody on from the mental health hackers would be good. It'd be an interesting conversation.
Yeah, and what do we get? Like, we get hundreds of 500, 600, 700 listeners a week. Mm-hmm. If you use the math, there's a good number
that are struggling.
Yeah. And so I would just encourage anybody who feels isolated, feels alone, feels, depressed, whatever, anxiety, paranoia, reach out and get help,
Yeah.
You can email the show if you want, and we can help you try to find something. There's always somebody. There's
some really good, suicide. There's really good suicide hotlines that are people just there to listen.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, it's funny because I grew up like my dad was a 20-year Marine, and it was always pick yourself up by your bootstraps and buck up, rub some dirt in it. But that doesn't work all the time.
No,
and that's okay.
Having somebody to talk to, right? Yeah. People, there's like that stigma around therapy, right? And there shouldn't be.
One you'll find too, I think, that when you admit your weakness, the people that genuinely do care about you, your bond with them becomes much stronger than it was, because they now know the real you.
Yeah.
Which is the beautiful you.
Yeah, I'm a bit, and it's kind of like, I feel like the same with like bones, right? They mend stronger. True. Same thing. Once you kind of get that out there and start working on it, you become a stronger person. Mm-hmm. It's not easy. It's not fun.
No.
But it does make you.
There's light.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Wow. This was the heavy episode of
right.
Security.
Well, and that was interesting too, because when I led off my keynote with this issue, it was kind of somber in the crowd, and I was like, all right, well, now that you guys are all pumped up and excited, but hopefully, that means that people are thinking.
Right.
They're internalizing it. They're like,
again, it's just,
yes, this is an issue.
Start the conversation.
Right.
It's not something that should be hidden in the shadows.
Well,
I don't think there's anything to be ashamed of if you have an issue. Like you said, half the people are going to deal with it.
Right. And who says that? Because talking about mental health, who says that means that I have to be somber? Why can't I be excited about it? Yeah, man. You know what I mean? It just, I don't know. That's another thing about, mental health is like, I think of myself, I'm like, am I normal? Actually, my wife asked me that because she was struggling with, she doesn't listen. So we're okay. But she was struggling with this decision to go to China.
Right.
And it was really tearing her up. And it got to the point where she's like, am I normal? And that was what she had asked me. We're on our way. We were at a date night on a Friday. I was like, I don't know what the hell's normal.
Yeah.
I mean, who am I to say what normal is? I work 70 hours a week. Is that normal?
It's more than
maybe
70.
I know, but you know what I mean?
Yes.
But it's like,
I'm with you. There is I think everyone has their own normal, right? And then you have what I'll do the air quotes society says is normal.
Right.
Well, what's the right one for you?
Well, I think, and that's the thing. I mean, we focus so much on trying to please other people and be somebody that we're not.
Right. Yeah. It's stressful.
Right. If you just be you. And so my wife was just being her, and she's struggling with a very difficult decision. That doesn't mean you're not normal. No. Right. We all struggle with decisions.
Yeah.
And so
that's a big life decision.
So as she was going down this path, because she was struggling with the decision so much, she started to question herself and her, very being,
It's so easy to go down that rabbit hole and just start nitpicking at yourself and
right.
Yeah.
I'm like, hell yeah, you're normal. Well, I don't know. You're abnormal, but beautifully abnormal.
But yeah, who says that's a bad thing?
Right. I mean, you married this guy. So.
So I tell my wife all the time, you have no excuses. We knew each other for, like 4.5, 5 years before we started dating. You knew what you were getting into.
Yeah. I give you plenty of outs.
Right. No excuses anymore. Yeah. Good discussion. I think it's hopefully well received and not terribly security focused, but just a huge issue in the industry. So,
but I think there are some things specifically in our industry that make it more difficult.
I agree. Yeah. I think it's a big issue within information security and IT to the same, but that's a bigger community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think in the 27 years I've been in this industry, I think maybe 3-4 times has somebody come up to me and told me, that they were struggling with something.
I mean, I know when I was just, you feel like, what am I doing? Mm-hmm. And that, you get trapped and it's not fun. I didn't tell anyone.
Right.
I mean, I couldn't go up to my boss and be like, I'm miserable. I hate my job. Mm-hmm. I'm doing the same thing and fighting the same thing day after day, not getting anywhere, not getting support. No, it's tough. Mm-hmm. So it would have been, having somebody to talk to is huge.
It is.
And like we talked about, spouses they don't, like we had them on, right? They said, my wife is a nurse. She's like, I don't get it. When I go home, I leave my work at work. I don't, that's it. And she's like, that's not how we are.
Right.
That's not what our job is. And
I found myself.
It's tough.
Like this weekend, because my wife is gone. So I had, some time alone with my daughter, and we were driving to the company picnic, and she was telling me about, I can't remember exactly what it was, but she was sharing her day with me, basically sharing thoughts and how she feels. And I drifted off into thinking about work stuff. Seriously. And then I was but thankfully I was, present enough to like go, whoa, hold up.
Right.
And I looked over to my daughter in the car and I'm like, honey, I'm sorry. I missed the last, 5 minutes of what you told me. Can you start? This is the last thing I remember. Can you start again? I'm sorry.
I've done the same thing, especially on the way home. Like when I would pick up, my middle daughter from school last year, I'd be driving and I'm like, she's going and telling me about her day. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry.
Uh-huh.
Well, I have no idea what you just said.
But, sometimes you have to do that reset button.
Right.
Right.
So anyway.
And that's normal too. So I didn't feel guilty about it. I would have felt probably worse about it had I just let it keep going.
I think the kids for sure get it. And I think they appreciate that you're like, oh, wait, I do want to hear this. Mm-hmm. Tell me again. Get some my rules.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's how you know you're raising them right.
And you're getting older probably too.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, should we talk some news?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So the first one you had is that a duo was not Duo the company, Duo meaning two people, indicted as part of a $10 million tech support scam operation that saw an InfoSecurity magazine. Wire fraud and conspiracy to commit wire fraud, 40 years behind jail in jail. That classic pop-up scam targeting elderly. And we still hear about that a lot. You've got a problem on your computer and we'll fix it for you. Mm-hmm. Personally, when I get those calls, I like to just keep them on the phone as long as possible and see how mad I can make them. I think my record is just over an hour.
Wow.
Oh yeah. It was glorious. I had it on speakerphone and my daughters thought it was the funniest thing they'd ever heard. That's funny. Because I was like sitting in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And he's like,
a meal or something.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like, okay, now you need to do, okay. So if I type CND? No, CMD. Yeah, right.
You're
just being, and then, it was fun. But that's, you hate to see this. I'm glad that they are starting to crack down on this and catch some people because it is a big issue.
Well, and I originally chose this news story because when you read the article, when you read the title, you do think Duo.
Right.
Because I read it and I was like what? Huh? Duo was indicted?
Right.
How the hell? What? But yeah, it's two people. Romana Leva and Ariful Haig, charged with one count of wire fraud and one count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud, land them a maximum of 40 years behind bars. I wonder what they'll really get.
I don't know.
I wonder if they'll be. I mean, so they've been charged. They're indicted.
My guess is they plead guilty to one of those two.
Get some.
And take the lesser of the two.
Get some community service.
I think I'm going to guess for the $10 million, they'll probably get some jail time.
And probably some restitution.
Yeah. And I said, they would have them charge the fee and then they would go back and do a refund and claim they refunded somebody too much and demand payment, which is insane.
So 7,500 North American victims were scammed in this way. This seems low.
That's just two people, though.
Oh, it's just these two people, or is it?
Well, I don't know. I've been saying it. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, the article is not clear on how.
I don't know how many people were in the ring, but.
So during the refund process, they claimed to have reimbursed the victim too much money by accidentally adding an extra zero onto the amount. They then demanded the victim reimburse them to the tune of thousands of dollars via gift cards, according to the indictment. So I'm sorry, we paid you too much. Can you please
send us money back?
Send us the money back, but do it in gift cards.
Right.
God.
Yeah. So March 2015 to December of 2018. So just over 3 years.
Right. And
That's a pretty good number of people a day.
And which company would ever, legitimate company would ever ask for you to give them back the money that they accidentally gave you in the form of gift cards?
Well, that's why they're targeting the elderly that are not
sad,
technically savvy.
So. I read an article just a couple months ago about an elderly person that fell for what was it? I got to find it. But he fell for, as a grandfather, kind of, elderly person. I think his wife had passed away already, so he was a widow. And he had fallen for this Nigerian scam, I think. So to the extent where essentially it cost him everything. And so he committed suicide. You know?
I know my mom has fallen for it, but she realized it quick enough that she was like, within minutes of getting off the phone, she went, "Oh, I should not have done that."
We call Brad.
And yeah, she did.
Yeah.
And I was like, it was literally me going, no, go to the bank right now. Like, just don't get off the phone with me and go. And luckily she was able to stop everything before anything bad happened. And, but you know, she's also listened to me preach about this stuff, but it's easy to have happen. It's like we talk about with the parents thing. We're digital immigrants and kids are digital natives, and then grandparents are not, they're struggling. All right.
So Microsoft says, according to their report, 63% of consumers globally experienced a tech support scam, down from 68% in 2016.
Yeah. It's so common.
Interesting. All right. Well, so my rule of thumb is never give out any sensitive information on any communication that I
don't initiate.
Exactly.
Yep.
And so would that be a phone call, an email, in person? If I didn't initiate this conversation that we're having, around, right, I won't give you anything.
Right. I was telling that when I was going through the whole mortgage process, my bank called, and I knew they were calling, and that they would be calling, and they called, and they're like, "I just need to verify this is you." I'm like, "What's your extension? How can I call you back?" Right? Like, if I call into the main bank number, how do I get you? And they told me, and I was like, "Okay, I'll call you right back." And I called, and they're like, "It's very rare that people actually do that."
Yeah,
it's like, I get it, but anyway.
It's
all
the
right.
way.
Next one, threat post. Smart TVs leak data, which is why you can't buy a non-smart TV anymore, right?
No, I don't think you can.
Anyway, I don't have my TV.
They've all
connected
got internet
to the internet
connectivity. They've all got YouTube. They've all got.
Yeah, I don't need that. I just want a good picture. That's all I care about.
Please, that's what I bought the TV for.
Right.
I didn't buy the TV to surf the internet.
Right. No, I've got other things for that. But yeah, so they were quote unquote spying on users and leaking sensitive data to companies such as Facebook, Amazon, Google, and Netflix. I'm not surprised at all.
Well, see, that's the thing. Either are consumers, because consumers don't seem to care anymore.
I think there's I guess an acceptance, right? All my information is already out there. What's the point? But
which is such a defeatist attitude and such the wrong attitude.
Yeah.
Because, 10 years ago, something like this were to break, or, where, hey, all your information, about what you're watching TV and conversations potentially you're having in your living room, those are all being shared with some company.
Yeah.
Somewhere, some big evil company.
I will say I am disappointed to see Roku on that list, because I do really like that. I have a Roku, and that's really disappointing.
And right now, according to the article, what can you do other than disconnect it from the internet?
Right.
What can you do to prevent
nothing?
It?
I'm going to guess, I'm sure there's ways to do it, but not for the majority of people.
And here's a crazy thing too. I remember, you and I have been around a while, and you remember when you first had to start patching Microsoft operating systems, you had to use a command line tool. It was called HF NetCheck.
Wow.
Yeah, and you could run it from the command line. Oh, you don't remember that?
No, I haven't thought of that in a long time.
Right? Well, I was thinking about this because while we were at the company picnic, they had that big TV on the wall.
Oh yeah,
and you see that pop up that says, "Hey, apply your patch." And I'm like, nowadays we patch TVs, we have to patch cars, we have to patch refrigerators, we have to patch. It's just like, my God, this is not getting easier; it's getting more complicated. And screw it, you're all sheep. So, I can almost see why you'd just be inclined to just give up.
I think has a good point, right? With a third of U.S. households estimated to cut the cord and use internet-connected streaming services only by 2020. Well, this is a huge issue.
It is.
Yeah, we're gonna have to figure that out.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've already gotten sort of past the point of no return, right? There were people George Orwell in 1984, wrote the book 1984,
right,
predicting things close to this, and here we are. We're still not awake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's just going to get worse, man.
Fun.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
I do not have a smart TV.
This is a heavy. I do have a smart. You have to if you bought a TV, but I do not have any of my TVs connected to the internet.
Yeah,
I don't have my surround sound receiver it can be on the internet. Nope.
My house was built in 1872, and the technologies I try to use in my house are about the same age. No, not that bad, but I'm not cutting edge in my house, man. I mean, home is the only place I can get away.
Right.
I don't want people listening to my conversations at home.
Right. Yeah, I don't have.
There's no Alexa. There's no Google Home in my house. There never will be.
No. Yeah, I agree. I don't. Yeah, I'm with you.
And if you look at this body, man, I can use the exercise. Like getting up off the couch to go get something and do something and turn a TV or a radio knob. I can use the exercise.
Or light switches, so you don't have to just say
thank you. I can do that too. Or I've got a 14-year-old daughter. I can say
right. That's
turn this on.
And then you get the eye roll, and you have to do it anyway. But that's okay.
See, I should have named my daughter Alexa.
There you go. Yeah. That wouldn't cause problems.
I'd say, Alexa, turn on the light.
You think the eye rolls you get now are bad?
I know. I'd have my own Alexa.
There you go. All right. Next story here is Security Week. Payouts from insurance policies may fuel ransomware attacks. So they said they were
change the word may.
Well, I'm not. I'm just reading what the article is.
I know.
Yeah. So they're saying that experts are worrying that the way the policies are designed might actually be encouraging attackers. So, right. They're basically what they're saying is that the ransom is slightly less than cost of recovery. Right. So they're setting these ransoms and doing that. And so now insurance pays.
How long have you been in IT?
Since like 98.
Did they teach you how to do backups in 1998?
I know. Yeah, I know.
They teach you how to protect your backups in 1998?
Yeah, we have one incident right now that got ransomed, and they had tape backup that they're very slowly recovering from, but they're recovering.
Right.
I mean, that's huge, but we're looking at probably 50 to 75 hours of support to get them back up and running.
And
then forensics.
Use your insurance to pay for recovery. Don't use your insurance to pay the ransom.
And that's what they're doing in their insurance company they said, we'd rather pay a little more for recovery than pay any ransom.
See.
And I was like, well, I like working with you.
Exactly.
That's exactly what I told them.
Can you share the name of the insurance company?
If I remembered it, I would. I'll have to look it up.
Because I would like people to buy more of their policies.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good one. And yeah, you don't even have a guarantee.
Right. Well, and kudos to this client because yes, slow backups are better than no backups, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't have backups or your backups are not adequately protected from catastrophe like a ransomware or back in the physical days, a tornado or whatever, at least now you have the option.
Right.
Well, if you don't have the backups, you don't have an option.
And with this, I mean, it's going to be painful. Their backup server was encrypted. So they had to rebuild a backup server, re-inventory all their tapes, import them all in. And tape is so slow.
Right. And so the next thing, and it goes back to basics, man. It's always the basics, right?
Right.
I would have recovery time objectives. I would have done
Right.
a business impact analysis. I would have had some form of backup and recovery that would have been adequate
Mm-hmm.
to bring us back online faster and less painful. So they got the first part right.
Yeah.
What I mean? At least they got that right. But the other part's about, all right, well, is tape going to be, asking the question, is tape going to be sufficient to get us recovered in an adequate amount of time?
Right. Well, if it was one server and their backup server hadn't been done, yeah, it probably would have been fine.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't, count on everything.
Right.
So
maybe in after the recovery, maybe having another backup server just offline. So all you have to do then is just bring your backup server.
Just bring it up, patch it, do your thing.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I cannot stand paying criminals.
No.
Sorry, man. I know of two law enforcement agencies that have paid ransoms. Like the cops paying criminals. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, they said the insurance company on this one said the only time they will pay is if there is no chance of recovery outside of paying.
That's this insurance company you're dealing with?
Yeah, I think that's paraphrasing it, but basically that's what he was saying is they prefer to. That. Now, obviously, if it gets to be a cost thing,
right,
they'll consider it. But in this case, we know they can recover, assuming the backups are good.
Right. Well, and that's what maybe that's the way, insurance companies should write insurance policies is we will cover ransomware, but only recovery. We won't pay ransoms.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's an area that insurance companies are really struggling with because, they don't have a good way to underwrite this stuff. But
no.
All right.
They don't have good data.
Last one is an update on those pen testers in Iowa that got arrested.
Those pen testers.
And it appears to be even it's a mess.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even know where to start with this. So basically the agreement said that pen tests were to be conducted between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., but could be done outside of that if there was a change order. Well, these guys got caught just after midnight, and they did have their quote unquote get out of jail free card. When the sheriff called the state employee and the guy was like, yeah, we've hired him, let him go. The sheriff said, no, which is, and
they didn't get along.
Yeah.
Right?
But again, technically they were outside the scope.
Well, that's it, right?
You got to know this stuff. There's so much communication failure here.
That's what it comes down to, right? Communications. So
it was, so that's on the Des Moines Register.com out there. It's very interesting read. I think that the sheriff definitely did not like the state doing that.
Right.
I don't know if he necessarily had anything towards the pen testers other than then he caught them outside of what the scope of work said.
Sure.
Which, you're in violation of your contract at that point.
Yeah, you have a scope of work
for a reason.
Right.
So, that'll be...
and poor communications. And it was interesting because Coalfire shared the scope of work, publicly disclosed that, not in this article.
I was going to say, I didn't see it.
A different one. And it was interesting to see because, we have scopes of work here too. Mm-hmm. And I was like, but you think Coalfire, like big,
right,
company.
They're big.
Yeah. So you think, man, that's got to be some sophisticated, like cool looking scope of work. It wasn't. It was just.
I'm going to have to go find that now.
It was pretty plain and simple.
But again, complexity is the enemy, right? So you want to have.
You just thought
it wasn't.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't fleshed out as it should have been.
Well, certainly. Yeah. When you talk about, penetration testing and you talk about physical penetration testing and break-ins of a county facility, you probably want to get that.
You want to have that down. Really well written out.
Yeah,
exactly what's allowed.
This list of things are allowed. These lists of things are not allowed, and anything that's gray area must be cleared first or something. It's just it has to be.
That's what I think our guys do such a good job of. Is our initial statement on work for like, hey, we're going to do a physical pen test is pretty high level, but then during the call with the client, they'll flesh out exactly what's allowed, and we'll have it all written out and signed off on, and we're on the same page.
Well, a takeaway for us, as a security consulting company that does the same type of work, maybe we make it part of our standard operating procedure that if we're going to do a physical social engineering attack against a municipality, certainly a municipality, maybe we ask, should we include the sheriff in this conversation or include the local police department?
Makes sense. You really should have at least maybe the chief or somebody higher up that could be on your get out of jail card.
Right. At least when you're dealing with municipalities, if you're dealing with a public a private entity, you won't have that tension that these guys have here.
Yeah. Again, it could have turned out a lot worse. So hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, you can get shot.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised especially if the police had their guns drawn.
Burglar tools and everything with you. So, all right.
Well, and hopefully these guys that are stuck in the middle, Justin Wynn and Gary DiMercurio, get out. I don't know if they're out on bond right now, but hopefully they don't have anything on their record and have to deal with this crap because of. Yeah.
Well, it'd be interesting. I think, how did they get the impression that they could do this at midnight, not during normal hours? So, but that will be something down the road. All right. Well, there you have it. We have talked about a lot today. It was definitely a little more intense episode than normal.
Yeah, I'm taking it serious today.
Yeah. So we're always grateful to our loyal listeners, or for our loyal listeners, and love the feedback and appreciate that you do listen every week and join. So send us your feedback at unsecurity@protonmail.com, or you can socialize with us on Twitter. I'm at Brad Nye, and Evan is at Evan Francine. So thank you, and talk to you guys next week.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the UNSECURITY podcast. We value our listeners and would love to hear from you. Give us your feedback by emailing us at unsecurity@protonmail.com. That's unsecurity@protonmail.com. Be sure to tune in next week to hear the latest insights from Brad and Evan.